Hi scholars, so today we're continuing to use number lines with fractions or placing fractions on a number line. So let's look at our learning intention. Thoughtful mathematicians generate simple equivalent fractions by using a number line. So to refresh your memory, equivalent fractions, equivalent just means equal to. So equivalent fractions are fractions that have the same value or equal amount. We know we use a number line to represent numbers as points on a line. That's why we use points when we plot a number on a number line. And a fraction greater than 1 is a fraction with the numerator greater than the denominator. And this is also called an improper fraction. So today we want to write two different fraction names for the dot on the number line. So that's why they're equivalent, because they end up on the same point on a number line. You may use halves, thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, eighths, or tenths. So I see my number line here. It goes from 0 to 1. I see my point, and I want to label this point with two fractions. So at first, just looking at this the way it is, I see there are 1, 2, 3, 4 parts to this number line. So this number line as it is represents fourths. So if I'm looking at this, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4 makes 1 whole. So that means that right now, this dot where it is represents 1/4. I want to find a fraction that is equivalent to this fraction and would also end up on this point in the number line. So the easiest way to do this would be to split this number line to make even smaller parts and make a new fraction. So I'm going to split all these fourths in half. And I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts, which means this now represents eighths. And this point on this number line represents 1/8, 2/8, 2/8. So 1/4 is equal to 2/8. I'm going to write that down. So two fractions that have the same value are 1/4 and 2/8. They both represent this dot on the number line. So let's try one together. We do the same thing, except we're starting from 1 instead of 0. We're going up to 2. So before we started at 0, went up to 1. Now we're going up a different whole, starting at 1 whole and going up to 2. So I say this is also fourths, 1, 2, 3, 4. But this 1 whole makes it very different because we're not starting at 0/4. What would we start at instead? It was 1 whole in fourths. So how many fourths do I need to make 1 whole? So this would represent 4/4. Now we can use this information to move on and find out what this dot is in fourths. So if we count on from 4/4, what is the value of this dot on the number line? If you haven't already answered this, please pause now, think of your answer, and then press play. So if I start at 4/4, because this is 1 whole, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, I count on. This dot on the number line represents 7/4. So what did we do to the previous number line in order to make it another fractional model that would be equal to fourths? What did we do? We split it, right? So we're going to split it again so that we have eighths now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Fix this so it's even. So now how many eighths would this dot represent? Well, we need to know how many eighths make a whole. How many eighths do I need to make a whole? 8 eighths. Now we can count on. So go ahead and count on. What is the value of this dot in eighths? So 9/8, 10/8, 11/8, 12/8, 13/8, 14/8. So this dot on the number line represents 7/4 and 14/8, meaning they are equal fractions. 7/4 is equal to 14/8. So I want you to try this one. Now notice this is not fourths anymore. Sorry, this is not fourths anymore. I have 3 parts instead. But I am starting at 0, so you don't have to figure out what the whole is because you're starting at 0, you can just count on. So I want you to try and find 2 fraction names for this dot. So 2 fractions that are equal to each other at this point on the number line. Please pause now, solve on your own, then press play to check your work. Again, pause now, try this one, and press play to check your work. You can grab any materials you need while you pause the video to be able to draw your number line and solve, right? Because it's going to be hard to just look at the screen and be able to determine this. So go ahead and grab some materials, a piece of paper, a whiteboard, anything you need so that you can actually solve this. All right, welcome back. If you haven't already, please pause so that you can finish and solve and then check your work. All right, so I know right now I have thirds because I do 3 jumps, and that's 3 parts. So if I'm starting from 0, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3 to make a whole. So this is 2/3. Now I want to split these thirds to make a different fraction. And if I count now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. So I've now made sixths on my number line. So if I count up from 0 again now, by sixths, 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, this same dot in sixths represents 4/6. So your answer should have been 2/3 is equal to 4/6. Now that's not the only fraction that's equal to 2/3, but it's said to use either halves, thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, eighths, or tenths. So out of these, the only fractions that would be equal to thirds would be sixths in this specific case. All right, so you're gonna have similar problems to this where you're gonna have a number line and you're gonna break it apart to find or split that specific fraction in half to find the other fractional value that has the same value or equivalent fraction to that original fraction. If you have any questions, as always, you can reach out to me on Schoology or Hangouts. Bye, guys.